I am a beginner Instacart shopper, having completed 24 orders so far, and all of them coming in the past couple months. I'm a delivery driver that mostly works DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub, but I try to help out all drivers, and I think Instacart is a great way to make money. So tip number one is to place yourself in a good area. You don't want to just be sitting in your apartment waiting for orders, because if you don't live directly next to a grocery store, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of good orders that you want to accept. If you are starting your day and you've committed to working these specific hours, I'd recommend just going out there and driving to some good grocery stores that you're familiar with to get your day started. I have a couple screenshots I want to show you that might help you determine what is a good area versus a bad area. So this first one, it only has a couple stores. You probably don't want to be in this area waiting for orders. I would recommend going to an area kind of like this screenshot right here. You might want to place yourself in the middle of all of them, or just next to like one of your favorite stores here. Or in this next screenshot, this one looks like a good area as well. Just placing yourself at any of these stores kind of in the middle of this map, that might be a good place for you to start. Since these are beginner tips, I would recommend starting with just shopping for one order. Instacart likes to group orders together, so they might try to have shoppers shop for 2 or 3 customers' orders at the same time. And this can get very confusing, especially for beginners and even for me, because I'm first starting out too. I just try to accept orders that only have one customer on it. That way I just don't get confused. There have been a couple times where I've shopped for 2 customers at the same time, and I just feel like that added on some extra pressure to me to get the order done faster, even though I would still consider myself a relatively slow shopper. But if you're just worrying about one customer, you have one customer to text, maybe you have a bunch of replacements that you need to take care of. You just have to worry about one order at a time, and it's a lot more stress-free that way. You can make more money if you decide to shop for multiple customers at the same time, but you are just starting out, so I'd recommend just taking it easy. You are going to make less money up front at this job while you develop the proper skills to become a faster shopper and a just faster Instacart delivery person overall. But over time, if you like the job and you are getting better at it, you can start to make more money per hour. Something that has helped me become faster is that I try to accept orders that have little to no produce on it. I realized that it takes a long time, at least for me, to shop for produce items. I'm in the store and there's just like, you have to do a lot of things. You have to like pick out the produce, you might have to weigh them, you might have to put them in plastic bags and tie them up. Like, it's a lot more of a hassle to go through these produce items than it is to just like go down the aisles and pick up like a box of something. It just seems to take way longer for those items, and so you can actually check the item list before you actually accept the order to see if there's like fruits and vegetables on it. As an example of something I did accept, you can scroll down here and I have a little screenshot saying that there's just like 4 bananas on this order and there's no other produce. I thought that this was okay enough for me to accept because bananas are pretty easy. You just pick them up and then weigh them, make sure it's a good weight, and then you're good to go. Those were my tips on what to do to accept a batch. Now I will get into what to do at the store and the drop-off, and some extra tips to do after that. When you start shopping, you really want to send out a text to the customer saying that you appreciate their order and you're willing to help them out and communicate with them in any way possible. I just found out that Instacart will let you set a custom greeting. So I actually did have a default greeting that I send to customers in my iPhone in my Notes app, but I copy and pasted that over into the Instacart app. And so now I believe when I do my next shop, I will just be able to click on the messages icon for that customer, and then I'll be able to send that a lot quicker than having to copy and paste that message from my Notes app. Don't be afraid to select replacements for the customer. You will run into situations almost every time you shop where there will be something out of stock and you need to get something replaced. Well, sometimes the customer has even set a replacement that they want in the app, before they even placed that order. If there is an item that is out of stock, you can hit the button that says can't find item, and sometimes it'll pop up with suggested replacements that maybe the customer has left. Even if there isn't something there or that item is also out of stock, the app might also suggest something to get instead. So like you can see here, the item was out of stock, but the app actually suggested a different replacement. And so I just had to go in there, I found the item, scanned it, and I was good to go. It's also great to text the customer about this. I believe they also get a notification when you make a substitution, but just always be in contact with the customer saying, is this okay? Or do you want something different? That way you don't get to the end of your shop and even deliver it and the customer says like, oh, I didn't want this. And definitely make sure that you are not just saying you can't find the item and you want to refund the customer, because that can also affect how much you're getting paid for this batch. Customers often tip as a percentage of the order total. And so if you're refunding the customer for all these items you didn't find, that may reduce your tip. Because if a customer has a $100 order, but you only found $75 worth of items in the store, your tip is going to go down drastically. Also, if you can't find an item, make sure to ask employees for help. Maybe you just can't find something because you can't see it, or it's actually out of stock on the shelf. But like in this example, there weren't any items on the shelf, but they were about to restock that shelf. And so the employee was able to find one for me. You can definitely cancel any batch that you want after you accept it. Let's say after you accept it, you go in to look at the items more in detail and you realize, oh, this is actually going to be too much of a hassle for me, or maybe it's just going to be too many items and it's going to take me a long time to complete it. And especially as a new shopper, they actually won't penalize you at all if it's within the first 30 batches that you've accepted. But after that, you really got to make sure that you try not to cancel a lot of them, because if your cancellation rate is above 15%, they may deactivate you for that. Throughout the whole process, you don't really want to be calling the customer for anything. The app actually lets you know that the customers like to be texted instead of called, but especially when you're dropping it off, you don't really want to call them. You can, if you need to meet them at the door, you can always ring the doorbell, and most customers are responsive to that. And yeah, just shoot them a quick text saying that you're almost there if you're worried that like they aren't going to answer the door. And then of course you can always call them if you need to, but just use it as a last resort. And another tip, when you are dropping the order off, just make sure to take a clear picture of all of the items that you're dropping off, because there is the occasional customer that is going to complain that they didn't receive all of the items. But if you know that you got everything on their list, just make sure to take a picture of it so that you have proof that you actually delivered all of the items that they requested. There's an app called Timestamp that if you download that, it'll help you take pictures of your surroundings or of your orders that you're dropping off. And it actually has the time and date, and it also has the exact location where you're at. And so you can use this, just like keep this on your phone. You take a picture of it, and so now you have proof that you not only delivered those orders to a house looking like that, but you have the exact time that you dropped it off and the exact location, so it's much harder for customers to commit fraud. The best way to maximize your earnings is to use more than just Instacart. There are plenty of other apps out there that can help you make your money, especially when you're not getting a ton of batch requests from Instacart. It may be frustrating when you refresh the Instacart app and you see that there's no batches available because you're on the road, you want to make money, you've already committed to putting in this time to earn an income. But if you have other apps to help fill in the gaps, that will help you make the most money. There are other shopping apps such as Shipt or Corner Shop. Shipt, you shop in grocery stores as well as Target. Corner Shop, I have not delivered for them yet, but I'm working on getting approved, and then I will be making a video about that shortly to tell you about my experience. Those apps are very similar to Instacart. You shop for the items and then you deliver it to the customer. So if Instacart isn't busy, you could check out those two apps, Or if you want to do something a little bit different, you can look into restaurant delivery apps like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. That's what I love to do. You're just picking up from restaurants and you're delivering it to the customer. It's a lot faster than going into grocery stores, shopping for the items, and then delivering it to the customer. But they don't pay as well, so you're gonna have to do more trips to make the same amount of money. But they are also very quick, and so that can help fill in the small gaps that you have in between Instacart batches when there's nothing available for you to accept on Instacart. With any of these apps that you check out, make sure you are tracking your mileage with an app like Gridwise or Stride, or even if you're doing it manually because you are self-employed as an independent contractor when you are doing this work, so you get a business deduction on the mileage that you drive. This can help save hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars come tax time. If you want to see an insane Instacart batch that I shopped, check out the video here. And if you want to learn more about DoorDash, here are 5 beginner tips for being a DoorDash driver. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.